Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. I hope you are well and safe and staying healthy. Today, we are going to be reading the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 28, 16 through 20, and we are going to be talking about the Great Commission. Now the 11 disciples went to Galilee to the mountain to which Jesus had directed them, and they saw him and worshipped him, but some doubted. And Jesus said to them, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age." Here ends the reading. Thanks be to God. So, the Great Commissioning, what does that mean? And what does it mean to have commission moments? Commission moments are any time that we feel the Holy Spirit tugging on our heart as a disciple to go out and make another disciple or encourage an existing disciple. Commission moments simply means fulfilling that Matthew 28 promise where we have ears to hear and eyes to see what Jesus is asking us to do. And so I wanted to share a story of a time that I was at seminary and I was with a good friend in Ohio, and her name is Ashley, and she was pregnant and had a baby on top of it. So it's just full house of kiddos. And I remember going to one of her doctor's appointments. And so I was sitting in the waiting room with her baby as she was going in to get the ultrasound and all of that. And there was a woman in the waiting room, and she was by herself and she was crying. And I sat there and I didn't know at first what to do. I didn't know if I should just let her sit there, if I should just not intervene. But she was crying. And so I asked the Lord, I said, "God, what can I do for this woman, this child of God at this moment?" And I will never, ever forget, but I felt God so tangibly say to me, "Angie, go over and pray for that woman, because that is one of my kids too." So I went over to this young woman, and she had told me that she had lost her baby and that the miscarriage was with an ex, and she just didn't know what to do. And so I asked her, I said, "Can I pray for you?" And she said, "Absolutely," and just grabbed onto me so tightly, just held on to me as I prayed for her. And I remember praying for her and the tears just rolling down into my hands as I was holding hands with her and encouraging her and asking God to just bring her comfort, just a stranger. I didn't even know her name. And we finished, and she said, "Thank you so much." She said, "I, in this moment, have never felt more alone." And she said, "But you were Jesus to me." And again, she shared with me later that she is a believer, and just so thankful for just the encouragement. And so I share that to say that you do not have to be a special professional Christian to fulfill the Great Commission. You have to have a posture of faithfulness and obedience to the Holy Spirit and a heart to be open to serving others and telling others, believers and non-believers, about the good news of Jesus. So the risen Christ interacted with the disciples on the mountaintop and said, "All authority has been given to me, so go and make disciples of all nations." And that is our call too. You know, when I first received the call to be a pastor, it was a mountaintop moment. I was in South Africa, and I had multiple people on this mission trip say, "You have been anointed by God to preach the good news, and you have been anointed by God to be a pastor." And it was so crazy. My translator first said this to me, but then several other people throughout that month in South Africa kept saying those same words. People, and I'm like, what is that? And so I am thankful. I'm thankful to be a pastor. But the thing about being a pastor is it's not just pastors that are fulfilling the Great Commission. It's not just missionaries that are fulfilling the Great Commission. It is all of us that have accepted the call and said yes to Jesus. And so I want to encourage all of us that when we sign up and we say yes to Jesus and we ask Jesus into our hearts, whether it's when we're little and we're in Sunday school or it's when we're older in life, we are saying yes to going out too and to encouraging existing disciples, to help existing disciples grow in their faith, or to make new disciples. And so Oswald Chambers, one of the great saints and Christian authors, says, "You cannot make disciples unless you are my disciple." So the more we follow Jesus, the more we can share Jesus. The more we have a heart to grow that's willing to bow down before God and submit to where God is calling us, the more we will be ready to fulfill the Great Commission. And I pray that you will be encouraged in some way, shape, or form to fulfill the Great Commissioning today and this weekend. You can do so much ministry in quarantine. And we've talked about that before, but it's true. I did ministry today all day, back from my Sabbath, and it was all over the phone. It was on the computer or on the phone from the safety of my house. And so whether it is calling and just making care calls to people or writing some emails or even engaging on Facebook and encouraging people, there's so much good that we can put into the world. I also encourage you to think back in your life as we have lots of time to think and ask yourself and ask Jesus, when were your commissioned moments? When were those times in your life as a disciple? Maybe you've been a Christian for decades. So when have you really truly felt the presence of the Holy Spirit to do something, to go somewhere, to pray for someone, to minister in some capacity? Because we all have those commissioned moments where the Holy Spirit is asking us and waiting for us to just say yes to whatever God has. So that is my prayer for all of you loved ones, that you would read Matthew 28, the end, that you would put yourself on that mountaintop with the risen Christ and that interaction with the disciples. And you would say, when have I been asked to go and minister? And how am I being asked to now? I love you all, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.